And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. The Vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because sometimes not having a topic itself is the topic, which gives you all the freedom in the world to go ahead and do whatever it is that you want, which also includes drinking whatever you want, which tonight is just straight orange juice because I actually wanted to get a whole bunch of those little, sampler bottles, but I forgot to stop at the store earlier today, so I did. It is what it is. Shows you how often I get, like, liquor. Yeah, there's a naughty joke in there somewhere, but you know what? Tough. I'm not going to go with that low-hanging fruit. Part of this is to follow through with the old adage that sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin Tribble. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. That's Shujin. Hi. And by find me everywhere, you can find me over on the Blue Skies, too. I will be seeing about adding an account for HCTV now that I have an invite available. It takes a little while for that to have happened, but be that as it may. Good to be with you. At the moment, the only co-host I've got at the moment with you is Brigid Fitch from the Midwest of the U.S., where tornadoes can be a mile wide and travel at 70 miles an hour. Joy.
Yeah, they can, but at least not at my house.
Fortunately. Yeah, with all the reaction videos that I've seen on YouTube, there was one that I saw where a Brit was looking at the 5 largest tornadoes on record and was just like, I mean, how bad could it be? And they're just like, what? Because, one of the biggest ones was a mile wide and clocked in at like 70 miles an hour, traversing across, 3 states? I think is what it was.
Yeah, those can be pretty scary.
Can't imagine why. But anyway. So it's good to be back with you guys. Thanks for being with us. And for those of you that are, Brits and want to get up at some stupid early hour in the morning, you can go ahead and do that. All you're going to need to do is join us over on YouTube, be part of the live chat over there. Stephanie may be awake. It's hard to know at the moment. Did say that, did contact me earlier and said it's like stupid hot and probably not going to make it. Okay. I mean, considering that it's not supposed to be, oh God. Let me pull out that message because the temperature that was listed was like, why? Yes. Yesterday at 11, quarter after 11 local time. So 4 in the afternoon in Great Britain said it was 31C with an overnight of 24C. Yeah, that's warm. It's fair to say. Over here in the States, in the UK, that's like, no, we're not designed for this. Thank you very much. So, and Stephanie is awake and made it. Hi, good morning. Seeger is there. Hello there. And Felis, you made it. Good morning. Or for you, good evening. So yeah, it's good to be back with you guys. It's been, for me, it's been a weird couple of days. For my work, last week it was very, very chilly. We had people with lined windbreakers because it got dipping down quite a bit. And then this week, Mother Nature said, oh, right, it's summer, isn't it? Yeah, let me go ahead and add some extra humidity for you and bring the temperature up a little bit more by, 10 degrees. So, Murphy's Law number 13. It states, and I quote, Mother Nature is a bitch. Ain't that the case? So yeah, this past week was interesting. Now, I do have something to bitch about really quickly. It's got nothing to do with the show, and I didn't even tell Brigid about this. Where I work, we get donations, and as staff, we have to wait 48 hours after something has been checked in, priced, put out on the floor before we can buy it. Because otherwise, you know, the staff would buy all the good stuff as soon as it comes in, and, well, nobody gets any of the good stuff at that point, so, I mean, it's kind of fair. So there was an audio mixer that came in. It had two XLR channels, you know, like I would need to use for my my microphone over here, and it'd be a great replacement for the one that I got over here that's giving me all kinds of grief. Well, okay, it got priced in, and this is Tuesday. So Wednesday, it's out on no, Tuesday afternoon, it's out on the floor. Good, we're good, good. And I'm looking, it's still there. Okay, because Tuesday is the old folks' day, so who's going to want one of those? Wednesday, it's relatively slow, so I go and I look around. Okay, it's still there. It's still where it's supposed to be. Cool. All right, everything's cool. Thursday is the day when I can finally buy it. And I go into work, first thing in the morning, there it is. And I see it and I grab it and I take it with me over to where I'm going to be working for the day. And I see one of the managers. I'm just like, just want you to know, I'm not stealing this. I'm taking it with me. I want you to see that, you know, I've got it because as soon as the registers, I'm gonna buy it as soon as the registers open. But you can't. You have to leave it out on the floor until you can be off the clock to buy it for your lunch hour. Well, half hour. Okay. Okay, fine. Right. That's the rules. And I go back for my first break and I got skunked. It's gone. I checked the entire store on my lunch break. It was just nowhere to be seen. So I got skunked on a 4-channel audio mixer board that I could have really used. So whoever you are out there that bought that mixer board, I hope when you finally plug it into the power supply to give it 10 volts at 500 milliamps, you hook it up to a DC power supply instead of the AC that it needs, and it goes. That's my
That's
hope.
harsh.
It is, but you know what? They took it, and I wanted it. So it's just the way it's going to have to be. I need to do a little bit of fixing with all the names over here because, Brigid, your nameplate goes over here. My nameplate goes over here. And in order, from the right-hand coast of North America, where right now I don't believe that there are any storms a-brewing coming your way, UnrenownedTech, you made it. Good morning.
Hi. Yeah. Well, two things. One, I already drove home today through several storms, and including my own state. So yeah, no, I went through some storms. Second, I'm exhausted. I have a limited supply of coffee. I will make the good faith attempt to not fall asleep.
That's fair.
Mhm.
That's fair.
I've
And
had a long couple of weeks.
that's fair enough. Speaking of a long couple of weeks, also from over the water, in, well, I'm not quite sure where in France at the moment, Joseph, you made it back. Good morning.
He's in a hidden bunker.
Joseph, is your microphone working? I'm going to take that as a no. Don't have anything coming through for you at the moment. All right, we'll see. We'll see what happens. We'll give him a little bit of time because I've got the opening that I get to do, and see if you guys can figure out what's going on with him just a little bit. So how about I do that, and we come back, we get the scopes, and hopefully we'll have Joseph actually up and running with us. So let's go ahead and do that. So with 5 minutes on the clock, let me go ahead and do you. Your 5-minute freestyle starts now. Breaks. I could make some kind of disparaging remark about people who get very special breaks and then exploit them. You know, people like, well, for instance, people who buy car manufacturing companies that have got some very smart name brands on them. And by smart name brands, I mean smart people's names on them, and then buy their way into them, you know, exploit them for what they are. In this case, I'm going to do something that's going to be, well, going to make perfect sense. And it's probably going to shorten things up a little bit. Use your brakes. When you're driving, now especially, remember to use your brakes. And I'm not saying that from the standpoint of, oh, I almost got into an accident. I've had somebody recently this week in a loud pickup truck decided that me traveling the speed limit was not good enough and decided that they were going to cruise on past me and the person in front of me on a rural road, not exactly rural road, suburb road, single lane either direction, in the morning, loud engine, because of course, you know, they could, who ended up, you know, literally at the same stoplight as me and the other driver, and then on the same ramp onto the highway as me and the other person at the same time. So what did it get you? Pissing off people, you know. However, to give credit where credit is due, this person that decided that they were just too impatient for everything else did at least use their brakes where they needed to. The school zone. I cannot tell you how much this means to me. Once school season starts, especially the early part of the school season here in the United States, which is usually the end of August, the beginning of September. For a lot of places, it's just after Labor Day. It was when I was a kid growing up. It was always a new thing because you've got traffic patterns that have to change just a little bit. Because, you know, for the entire summer, usually, you've got how things are, where the kids are with the parents, which in and of itself is kind of a tough thing to kind of work around because, you know, during the summer months, you know, work doesn't change for most folks. They got to try to rearrange how their schedule is going to be if they're going to be working part-time while kids are at school and then not, and, you know, got to try to figure their way around that. But then you've also got the traffic patterns that have to deal with the buses because they are basically rolling stop signs that could happen at almost any moment. And early in the school year, the first 2 weeks of the school year, the drivers are still kind of getting used to how the pattern's going to be, what their routes are going to be, what kids they have to pick up at what time. And for some of them, it's a relatively new thing that they're doing because I don't know about anywhere else, but here in the US, bus drivers are getting really hard to find just because of the way that things are. Pay isn't great, the hours suck, and it's technically a full-time gig, but you're only getting paid part-time because it's only the time that you're actually, you know, shuttling people around. But you got to be there the whole time because, well, you know, what are you going to do? But for everybody else that's out there driving, you have to be mindful of these things. Here in the US, they're typically painted this beautiful, brilliant yellow so that they stand out across everything else. And they're not an emergency color like emergency red, for instance, because that's not going to light up correctly. At night, they light up brilliantly, if you'll pardon the expression. And in the day, even in foggy weather, which starts to happen in the mornings especially, you can still see them very well. But the times when you start getting into areas where the schools actually are, now is the time to be exercising more caution than ever this early in the school season. Because these kids, they are the most vulnerable, the ones that need the most care and the most safety. Don't for a second think that you're being too careful. Because all it takes is one small mistake to end one small life. Please don't be that statistic. I've got a way of just bringing everything down with these things, don't I? I'd like to say I'm sorry, but seriously, that is one of the things that really hovers over me. A couple of years back, unfortunately, we had a driver that ended up having a mistake happen, and it killed one of the students in the district that we're in. And I don't believe that there's any way of coming back from something like that as a driver. It just, no. I don't know how it possibly could. So everybody just be careful. Let's see what we've got at this point. Joseph, let's have another check-in for you. Are you able to be talking? I'm getting nothing. I'm getting nothing at the moment. I'm assuming that you guys are over in the host chat trying to figure out what's going on. Are any of the rest of you even talking to me?
I can.
There you go.
I'm here.
Okay. Getting worried there a minute. Suddenly there's nobody talking at all. Nobody's answering me. Nobody's giving me any feedback. Scare me, man.
I
There
had
you
to
are.
switch to switch to push to talk mode.
There it is. So you're actually with us. Good morning. Where are you to this wonderful morning?
I'm in Paris, but I'm heading down to Castle Country next weekend with the colleagues. We're going to be even more this year.
Cool. I hope things are going well for you.
Yeah, I'm going to have some thunderstorms over here as well. So here's hoping it's not going to be for next weekend.
Yeah, fair enough. Like I said earlier, Stephanie was saying that it was like 31°C out there earlier today. So I'm hoping the heat wave hasn't been exactly hitting you guys either.
We had 35 this week.
Oh my God.
Okay.
Yep.
But you can drown your sorrows in all kinds of wine, so it's not so bad, right?
Yeah, I don't go beyond beer these days.
That's fair. Oh man, I'm hoping you guys are able to deal with it well enough at least.
Well, 2 bottles of Evian a day.
That's a good start. That's a good start. So we'll see how that works. I need to hit the right buttons in the right order, otherwise things don't go the way that they're supposed to. So let's change tactics and swing on over for the horrible scopes because I did a lot of work this week, and I'll explain why. Let's do that. Time for the horrible scopes. If you know what your astrological sign is, cool. If you don't, it's not going to matter. You can just roll a d12. Better yet, go check out Heart of the Game Fredonia and see if they can sell you those d12s with the symbols on them. You can tell them that I sent you. And hail, hail, Fredonia, home of the Blue Devil. Because that's the mascot out there. It's a college town. Trust me, the guy's nice over there. This week's inspiration comes from someone that had no idea that it inspired them. So this week, we're not all about that bass or the treble. We're instead telling you all about your birth siege engine. So haul out your copy of the game Risk. We're going to try to take over the world. And when we get done with this list, I'll tell you who inspired it because they are they know because I told them in Discord. Or at least I haven't seen them react to it just yet. Aries? Oh, Aries. You just got to show off just how powerful you are, huh? Just get a team together and play tug-of-war with a power flinger device. Imagine it. A trebuchet, but instead of using tension, you just get a bunch of people to yank on the counterweight side. That's what your weapon is. It's called the Mengonal? is how it's pronounced. And it's your weapon to superiority. This week, you are the head of the group project. Good luck organizing, everyone.
Taurus. What do you get if you take a short bow away from its mommy and daddy longbow at too young an age, make sure it drinks all its milk, and feed it as much anger as possible through its formative years? You get the ballista. It's the ultimate emo phase. It wants to give everyone a piercing, preferably if they all stand in a straight line. This week, ask a professional piercer what 00 gauge looks like.
It's big. Okay, it's big. Tech?
Oh, I thought Joe was going to go next because I was late. Gemini, as much as you might like to think we're talking about drinking, we're not. For you, we present the Sambuca. Think of it like a giant ramp built in the front of your ship so you can climb up and get over the walls of a fortress. Unless you're playing the game Raft with Let's Game It Out, you've got almost no chance of successfully attacking a near-water stronghold. This week, take the boat out for a relaxing fishing trip instead. And if you're like me, don't put a hook on the end of your line. Just put a sinker and bring a good book. Tell them you're not coming in until you catch something.
Cancer Moonchild. As unconventional as you tend to be, this week you're nothing but conventional. You're so conventional that you might as well pick up rocks and throw them by hand. That's right, you get the simple catapult. Yes, sir. Nothing but wheels and tension and a chance to have the whole device spontaneously implode from poor manufacturing and stress. This week, seriously, just learn how to throw rocks like a cricket pitcher. 150 kilometers per hour is nothing to sneeze at.
I was talking with Dalan about this one last night. Have you ever seen an all-wood catapult just implode because something just gave way?
Yeah.
It's not
amazing.
pretty. It's not... Well, I mean, it kind of is.
It's... Destruction... unexpected destruction can be artistically impressive in terms of giving you an awe-inspiring respect for the forces at work.
The expression is RUD. Rapid Unscheduled Disassembly.
Yep.
Yes. Leo? Always have to be the center of attention, huh? Always have to be the loudest voice, the flashiest one in the field of wherever you find yourself. Your weapon is the artillery cannon. A metal beast capable of lobbing hunks of metal at enormous distances with the addition of gunpowder. Yes, technically, what Captain Kirk made could be considered a simple one. So this week, try to learn the difference between gun size measurements in inches, millimeters, and caliber. I'm specifically looking at all of you people that talk about World of Warship guns. I can't stand it.
By the way, I just want to point out that now they have not it's I'm sorry, my thoughts are getting ahead of my brain. There's a YouTube channel where there's this big beefy guy. He does a lot of entertaining aspects of gun knowledge and as well as videos. His channel goes by the moniker of Kentucky Ballistics. He's actually had to watch the video where he talks about having to put a thumb in it. But he's very educational along with entertaining. So if you really do want to just stick to one and actually learn some things, as well as being entertained in the process, I'd go to that one.
Drop it in the host chat. I'll see about dropping it into the show notes later.
Okay.
Ergo, where Leo gets all flashy and bombastic, if you'll pardon the pun, You just get into the battle with the idea to just get the job done and level the playing field. For you, we have the siege hook. A simple enough tool if you can get in close enough to use it. Get up close and personal to a stone wall, reach up with the siege hook, grab the edge of the top, and pull it away, exposing the soft, squishy interior of whatever fortress you're trying to take over. This week, you're allowed to feel a little smug for a change. Where others need accelerating chemicals, you'll get the job done by yourself.
Libra, here's a little something special for you, and most won't see it coming until it's too late. Your weapon is called Greek fire, and it is not a spice. Mix naphtha and quicklime, and you get an early version of napalm. It works a treat on wooden boats, as you might guess, but it also floats on water. So it would be possible to lay the stuff in the path of an oncoming ship and start burning it right away. This week, treat someone to the unexpected. Maybe something nice, maybe not, but definitely should be out there. I would like to point out that this channel does not condone the concept of putting floating napalm out in the massive channels.
We'll deal with that later.
Scorpio. Now, your weapon is speaking our language. Its name might be French, but don't for a second think that this is a surrender machine. For you have the pumpkin chucking, Citroën C3 pluriel launching, diseased cow hurling trebuchet. Want to fling things like a catapult, but with better physics? This beast for you. The worst part about it is the reload time, but who cares? You'll be hitting something leagues away. This week, get your distance vision checked.
Yeah. When I was writing these up, I had no idea that you were going to end up with that one. So that was
It's
just
good,
fun.
goodly themed. And by the way, I bought an archery, a cheap archery thing, just to try it at the castle. Since 2016, I've been wanting to shoot through those damn arrow holes, but I never got a chance to do it.
Dude, archery has come such a long way in so many different ways. There are pistol-sized crossbows.
Oh, they had those before.
No, I mean like stick it in like a small backpack. Like it's almost small enough to stick into a large fanny pack. I know they've been around for just a couple of years, but when you lay one down and you put a full-size crossbow next to it, it hits home hard.
I mean, that's kind of its job.
I meant, never mind.
Sagittarius,
Next.
we are not recycling Taurus's weapon for you. Honest, we're not. You're getting the Springald. It's a bit like a ballista, yes, but with a PhD. Pierce him dead. The ballista does bolts, sure, but it also does stones. And it's little more than a crossbow with compensation issues, not you. You were a bolt thrower, through and through, using tension like a catapult to strike fear into your enemies. And by fear, we mean large-sized tree branches. This week, take that online college exam and see if you qualify for a diploma. Or, alternatively, just make your own and print it yourself.
Capricorn, look, okay, yes, your weapon is kind of a ripoff of Taurus's, not gonna lie. But hang on a minute. You saw the size of that one. It's freaking massive. Again, they're overcompensating for some inferiority complex they have. You're getting the Onager, a two-man weapon that got its name from how it acted when it fired. It resembled the kicking action of the hooves of the wild ass, the Syrian wild ass. So this week, know that you might need help and look like an ass while doing your job, but you'll get the job done well.
Aquarius, if attacking a fortress could be automated to some degree, you'd do it. Your weapon is the siege tower. It's a big box on wheels with a, get this everyone, staircase inside. So all you do is you wheel this thing up into place against the wall, then just walk up a couple flights of stairs and fight it out the door like you're a stormtrooper boarding party. This week, don't skip Legwood Day. Joe,
Joseph?
you gotta push to
Not
talk.
even. Yeah, it wasn't working. Yeah.
Push harder.
So, yeah, right through the screen. You
You started and then didn't continue. Joseph, there's nothing coming through.
now?
Now.
Jeez. Okay, sorry about that. Pisces, you get one of the best siege weapons on this list. It is virtually impossible to roll a nat 1 with this bad boy, even if you're using it in the movie Young Frankenstein. You get the battering ram. Neither a bat nor ram. It's what answers the questions of how do you knock on the castle gate to announce yourself 3 towns.
And you cut out again just as you said 3 towns. Now you're back.
3 towns over? Yeah. This week, don't skip Arm Day.
Look, microphones are what they are. We work off of a budget of 0, so if there are techie problems, sorry, that's just kind of the way that it works sometimes.
Now it's just the screen, so sorry about that.
Is what it is. Those are your horrible scopes for this week. Remember, if you like what you got, I really don't care because none of you guys are giving me suggestions on what to use. I'm gathering this week's inspiration from a picture that Joey had posted in a Discord that we're both in. So I saw that listing and, well, I had to borrow it because. As usual, I'll have these posted at the end of the week. Tumblr, Twitter, Facebook, Discord, Blue Sky? Yes. I'm going to see about getting HCTV over on Blue Sky because I have an invite available to work with. So, go me. So, yeah, it's just one more account that I have to keep track of. It's all good. It's all good. It is episode 464 on the docket, Your Honor. Bring it to the table. Yeah, technically it means that this is a hodgepodge of, we don't really have any particular one topic to hit on. And I'm expecting that we'll touch base on a couple of items. So you guys, especially over there in the chat, you got something that you want us to harangue on. This is going to be your opportunity to go ahead and be noticed for it because there's a lot of items that are out there. And I basically told Brigid just before we got started, her usual at the end of the show FU to people, this is where we're going to get the chance to just bring it to the forefront because there's plenty of stuff to go around. So we're going to start off with some person that needs to have themselves slapped across the face because they richly deserve it, and was, figuratively speaking, Jim Jordan, who, as a Congress critter at the federal level, decided that he wanted to find out what all was going on down over there with the prosecution of certain past federal employees in the state of Georgia, only to be told by the DA of Georgia, "Good sir, you not being someone who is versed in law, perhaps you could just go out and buy this book all about the law and how it operates in this case for $250 because that's what it costs to somebody who's not a lawyer, and bone up and find out what it is that you're trying to do, because that might be considered illegal what you're trying to do, good sir." Anybody else hear about that one? Want to have a good chuckle about that?
Well, that's what he gets for not passing the bar.
Yep.
He's a failure.
Yep. Yep. And let's give credit where credit is due. The level of shade and snark coming from oh god, what the hell was her name?
Bonnie Willis.
Yeah, Ms. Willis. Just priceless. That's priceless because it's both class and at the same time, how else do you properly say you dumbass and get it across to everybody, sitting along at the dinner table with their kids. That was brilliant. It was brilliant. Oh, well, this is one. Stephanie's are already chiming in on one over here. Rishi Sunak. As treasurer, he stopped the rebuilding of schools and hospitals that were reaching the end of their lives. As prime minister, he is doing nothing as they literally fall down. That could be a problem. That could be a serious problem because, well, if there's no schools, you can't teach anybody to work in hospitals. No, actually, that works out well because then you've got no hospitals that you don't have to fill anymore. So I don't see where the problem is. It sounds all good to me. I'm going to go ahead and put the big /S for sarcasm here because I tend to be very dry about these things. I want to make sure that it comes across. I don't know that even my dry humor quite qualifies as a UK Brit dry humor. Just saying. Anybody know anything about that one? I actually don't, unfortunately, but nobody, nothing. I'll take that as a no. All right. Well, Brigid, you were with me early on. Who do you want to hit? Because I took one of the two that we talked about early.
Well, we could go after Tommy Tuberville for holding all of the military appointments. Because that really fucks up military readiness.
Tech, you work in conjunction a little bit. Without naming names or even your own, have you any kind of vision on this one or heard anything or are in a position to do or say anything? Because I know that I don't want to get you into trouble with anybody.
I honestly haven't been following politics for the last few weeks or so I don't know what's going on.
Well, the long and short of it is there's supposed to be some Brigid, they were otherwise supposed to be relatively routine um, promotions. Yeah. And he's basically decided that he wants to inspect every single one of them to make sure that everything is exactly right and on the up and up, as opposed to handling how many should have been done already?
I think he's held up like 400 and something appointments. Something like that.
Where otherwise it would have been basically just rubber stamped.
So you've got Joint Chiefs losing people and no replacements, and base commanders, no replacements, and
Well, one of the reasons why I kind of have, for the most part, stopped watching a lot of the politics is I honestly would not be surprised if the whole thing burned itself to the ground. If it just ate itself from the inside out at this point. Both sides, all of it just collapsed.
well, I think one person should not have the power to hold up all these appointments.
There's something to be said for that. There's very, very much something to be said for that. But unfortunately, we don't set policy, so we don't get to do nothing. But I will definitely second the fact that this guy definitely needs to just be, just what we should do? Maybe if we give him a first person perspective on what it's like, and shoot him out of a cannon, so he sees, just what these guys go through. Maybe that might give him a better view on what he should or shouldn't be doing. No, I'm sorry, that's clowns that we do. You know what? I don't know. That still seems fitting to me.
Or the trebuchet idea from earlier.
Yeah, but I mean, diseased cows being thrown by a trip. Well, all right, yeah. Now, yeah, that's getting a little bit too on point now. I'm not calling him a cow. I'm not. I'm making the comparison. It's possible he might have, hoof and mouth disease. I would like to believe that he is sick as opposed to malicious. Although it's getting really hard to try to find the line between the two of them. Leave that. I think we can leave him aside for the time being. Tech, even though you've been avoiding the news, and by the way, actually, seriously, good on you being able to do that. I wish I could do the same quite as much. Did you have anything that you wanted to go ahead and maybe touch on briefly, or go a little deeper into, to basically handle whatever has been newsworthy for you in any way, shape, or form?
I think the only thing that I can actually say I've seen any real pay attention to is church signs. Just watching church signs, because I've had to do a lot of traveling, a lot of driving, a lot of appointments. Basically, a lot of time for everybody else except for me. And in doing so, it's like, okay, there are churches everywhere, and almost all of them have signs out of one thing or another. And I see a lot of them like, well, hey, if you if you trust in God, you'll never want again, things like that. And I'm looking at all this stuff and I'm going, you know, before religion, there had to be something, and it was probably people in some way, shape, or form through some means of communication. Hey, look, join our group over here, because if you join us, we'll become even bigger, and we'll be able to force those people over there to give us more of their food, or more of their land, or more of their whatever. And then somehow that became evolved into a religious sect of some sort. Because I'm seeing the same thing in all these signs. It's basically saying, all these signs are basically saying, "Come to us, and you'll be happy. Come to us, and you won't want for other things. Come to us, and you can make the other guy, penitent to you," but without saying that. Um, and that's all I was seeing everywhere I went. Is all this stuff was just saying, "Fuck the other guy, join us." And sorry, didn't mean the F bomb.
Don't worry about it.
It was really depressing. It was extraordinarily depressing to realize that it's forcing people to hate others and say, "Oh well, it's love." It's like, no, you're wrapping it in a title of love, but you're actually telling them to hate other people because they're not what you're. They're not swallowing the same Kool-Aid that you are. They're not drinking the same Kool-Aid that you are.
Well,
they're not
it's an
having the same
invitation.
process.
It's an invitation to let somebody else do all the thinking, make all the life decisions for you.
But it's also an invitation to um, justify your hatred or fear or your ignorance of anything different than you.
Well, that comes later. You have to decide, because you're going to be, if you accept the invitation, you're going to be imitating everybody else in the group, and like following the leader. And it's the leader of the group is going to designate what other is
Well, don't forget, you also have people who join the group because they find out that they're like-minded, not because they're changing their mind to fit the group group think. It's because they have the same group think and they've discovered the other people. So they're like, oh, they think the same thing I do. I'm just going to go over there because there's power in numbers. And it
Sure.
justifies now that there's 100 people over there who think the same way I do about black people or brown people or people of any kind of color for that matter. Um, my thoughts on people of color are justified. And so they go over and join the people and they build that's one more person being added to another hate group. And it just keeps growing and growing. Yes, there are some people who they see the big group over there. They see that group who appears to be happy and who appears to be able to do whatever the hell they want. And so they'll change their process and swallow the Kool-Aid to become like them. And then they will hate who they're told to hate and everything else, like you were saying. But there's also other people who are also like that.
But you can
And
see the process.
yeah, exactly.
It's all the same process.
It is, and it's just it was sad and it was disgusting. And I would just drive by a church, I would see a sign, and I'd be like, you people are so part of the problem and you won't go away. And then and I think about how many times, oh, keep your atheism to yourself. Don't tell people about that. And I'm like, no, I can't. Because if people don't realize that they have an option other than you, then that's all they think they have. Well, that's okay. No, it's okay for you, but it's not okay for the world because you are bad. You are a bad thing, is what you are.
But
I mean,
somebody,
I drove through one town. I drove through one town, and I hit the first block. There was a church on the corner on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side there was another church. Then I got about halfway through the block, and there was a religious community center. Then I got to the next block. There was another church. I got to the next block on the opposite side of the road. There was another. There were 4 churches all within like 2.5 blocks of each other.
All
Through
basically of
one,
the same
through
overall
one little
arching.
town. They were different. Like one was Presbyterian, one was Methodist, one was blah blah.
But they're
But they're
basically,
all in a small. Yeah, they were all clustered together in one tiny little town.
but all basically Christian, right?
Yeah, all of the Abrahamic religion, yes. And now a couple of the buildings were definitely old school architecture. I could see them hanging around for historical purposes of the architecture of the building because the architecture was absolutely gorgeous. Um, the but some of the other ones were newer, and I'm just like, you didn't need to build a church. You could have built a soup kitchen, or you could have built a housing for the homeless, or you could have built, a thrift shop. You could have built something productive other than, hey, sit here and mentally masturbate until you feel good about yourself, and then go out there and compare who's wearing the best dress clothes. Go home, pat yourself on the back, and don't do anything different. Have a nice day.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo part of that. I've seen numerous billboards up over here in the Buffalo area where it's the "Are you going to hell? Call this number to
Oh
talk to
yeah,
somebody
it's
about
like
it."
8-3 the truth or something like that.
Whatever the hell it is. Basically, it's the Church of Scientology, and I think collectively, I think we can all agree, Scientology can just go screw itself into the ground because it's where it deserves to be.
Oh no, these weren't the Church of Scientology. The ones that I saw um, were they were definitely Abrahamic religion.
No, no, no. I
Uh,
got that, but it's just the whole overarching of come join us and make the other guy not
yeah.
be part of our group. That's the kind of thing I was going for because love those love those signs and regardless of the size because just why it's a waste of money.
I still some of the areas I drive through will have strip clubs or adult theme shops, right? And there will almost always be a religious billboard near them. Well, one of the strip joints got well, it's not really a strip joint. It's a you go in and there's booths and videos and such, at least according to the advertisements outside. And um, they put up an updated sign that says, well, if you're going to go to hell, come here first. Get it? If you're going to do it, enjoy yourself, you know?
Something to be said for that.
Yeah, I thought it was funny.
Joseph, you being there in Paris and in the French countryside, you don't have to deal with these kinds of things the same way that we do by any stretch of it. But what do you got to bring to the table that you want to bitch about? Because there's got to be something.
Well, I've been saying over the past, I've observed over the past couple of years that religions and basically our economy and religions, they count on the same thing, which is kind of letting everybody else call the rules to decide what's the best thing to buy, what's the best thing to wear, what's the best car to have, and really that's replaced religion, especially in Europe. The French tend to be a little more critically thinking, but still I see the same thing. Like everybody, when I see the state of the economy and the wealth disparity and all that, and just everybody's playing by the rules. Nobody's trying to change them. It's a bit the same thing going on without the religion, but it's the same behavior pattern as far as I'm concerned. Especially in England, I think it's much worse there than it is here, because people are just like taxed to the exploding point.
And I'm sure we'll get a little bit of feedback on that one in such a moment. And for what it's worth, I said feedback also because I don't know what's going on at the moment, but the audio level that you've got seemed to be driving really hard, and I don't think that you did anything to switch it. I think Discord is just being Discord, and it's trying to drive the mic a little bit harder than it was before. At first, when you first hit the talk, I don't know that there's anything to be done about it. I think we're just gonna end up just dealing. That's fine. But yeah, there's definitely something to be said for that too. People just following along because they're just following along. Sometimes because it's just the money factor of things. I'm thinking about something that I heard about earlier.
Well, the dead Kennedy said it best. I mean, this is going back to the 1970s. Give me convenience or give me death. I think that's the name of their first album, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. Considering the way that I heard how Amazon is steadily becoming the all access everything convenience market out there, holy smoke, that hits home really hard right now. And I can admit I intentionally steer away from it because I don't particularly care to have to buy anything from Amazon if I don't have to. And trust me, it's really easy not to have to buy from giant conglomerate. Still, at least for now. I hope it stays up that way. Back for me, I'm gonna I'm gonna drop over in here and at the risk of pissing off people, I'm going to basically say whoever it is that thought that AI generation of stuff, unfettered, and I'm going to say very specifically art, was a good idea. And by art, it doesn't necessarily have to be images. It could be movies. It could be texts to be read, scripts to be outlined and eventually filmed. It could be recipes that inadvertently develop suggestions for things that you can drink, where the instructions say to drink it but don't inhale the vapors because it's otherwise known as mustard gas. I'm sorry, I really don't think that this is a really good idea. Look, if there are things that you want to train AI to be able to reproduce later in specific styles, you want it to reproduce music in the same style as Brahms, teach it on Brahms. You want it to impersonate great artistry, have it learn on Rembrandt, on the sketches of Michelangelo, on stuff that is old, antique, more specifically, not in copyright currently. There's plenty of stuff to go around, but intentionally training it on people's work that they've worked really hard on and are trying to make a living off of, and you steal their stuff, you're not allowed to do that now with stuff. Somebody takes a photograph, that's theirs. That's their work product. And for at least 75 years, you're not allowed to use it for your own purposes unless you've paid for it, got an agreement, or the person actually says, yeah, I'm just releasing this into the public domain so that it can be used. AI can be a wonderful thing if it's used correctly. But Lord knows it's one of those situations where we've got a tool with no guardrails on it. And I've got a lot of artistic friends of mine who are really pissed off about that, and I completely get it with them. Oh yeah, and by the way, NVIDIA, screw you and your $40,000 cards for AI training that are basically just a couple of 4090 cards that go into a computer.
No, some people are actually getting concerned that AI is being trained to examine worker output. So
there are Excel spreadsheets for that already.
Well, no, it's this is real-time analysis of people like there was a video on YouTube where they were showing the algorithm at work examining the output of the employees working at a coffee shop, who had made the most amount of coffee, what kind they had made, at what times, how are they composing them, what was their posture like, what was their, were they using their phones, things like that. The metrics on everything. Basically, all the metadata of their performance was being analyzed in real time. And the fear is that's going to be the norm everywhere. It was like, well, believe it or not, companies were already doing that, and we became more aware of it during COVID, when people were finding out that their laptops actually were spying on them, and they had been spying on them for quite some time. It was just becoming more prominent thanks to COVID and at home, because companies are like, well, if we're paying you money, we expect this kind of work, rather than we're analyzing um, your performance after the fact rather than in real time. And I think that's the problem that most people are having with that concept of AI being intrusive in that respect, is they don't want real-time analysis. They want, look, here's the performance that you're paying for. Here's the performance I'm giving you. They either match up or they don't. And either I'm exceeding the requirements, which means you should probably be paying me more, or I'm not delivering the deliverables, which means you probably should find somebody else. Okay. And instead of, oh, we're catching you in the act as you're slacking. Well, I've worked jobs where in my 40-hour work week, I might have one day where the 8 hours in that day, I only did 2 hours of work. Why? Because there was only 2 hours worth of work. So I sat around for 6 hours waiting for more work. But the next day, in an 8-hour window, I did about 16 hours of work. I did 2 days productivity in about an 8-hour window. And by the end of the week, everything had balanced out to 40 hours of work. It didn't happen over a consistent, steady flow. And companies are like, well, if you've only done 2 hours of work in an 8-hour on the day before, but you did 16 the day after, you should be doing 16 every day. It's like, no, that's how you burn out your employees.
True.
Right. But with real-time AI analysis of it, after sitting there for an hour, they might get a notification going, why aren't you working? I'm waiting for the next. Well, if we're not giving you enough work to do, we're paying you too much, or we're going to have to cut your hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
It really is job dependent.
Yeah.
I can't make customers come through the floor. If I'm working a job where I'm flipping burgers and I've only flipped 30 burgers in 1 hour because that's the amount of people that came through the door in 1 hour, you can't tell me, well, yesterday you flipped 60 in 1 hour and you've only flipped 30 this 1 hour. We're going to have to cut your pay. It was like, why? I don't control the customers coming through the door.
Yeah. The idea that management does not keep track of these kinds of things is ludicrous. The only difference is that now instead of having somebody watching everybody every time or remotely on cameras, because it used to be you have to be right there to do whatever the work is, and if the work is watching the employees and keeping track of that stuff, well, now you can do that by camera and keep a log of it and record it. Now the difference is you don't need the person there to record it and watch it and log it. So it's the natural progression of how these things are going to go. And anybody that didn't see that was coming, well, you just don't realize how these things work. And it's stupid to think otherwise. And no, it's not the end of the line on this by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still going to be a pain in the ass to try to explain to management. You're not going to have many people wanting to work for you if you're going to be scrutinizing every last second of every day. Somebody will get it. We'll see how that plays. So that's us too. Brigid, what do you got next? Who deserves to be bitch slapped further in your head?
Well, we were talking about this a little bit before the show, but people like Mitch McConnell and Dianne Feinstein need to go ahead and retire already instead of doing this weekend at Bernie's crap, because they're not functional.
Yeah, we did talk about that. And to also be clear on this one, I had said that, yes, they need to go away, but I grudgingly said, if we're going by the whole age bracket thing, we need to see about Bernie Sanders going away, except there is a difference between being aged and being aged. And if there's one thing we can definitely say, the Senator Bernie Sanders is most assuredly not aged by anybody's whim of the imagination. We had good things to say about him before the show, man. That was a lot of fun thinking about him. Man's good.
But Dianne Feinstein's not functional.
Yep. She's had several months of just not being at work by comparison to having time being at work. And that's just not... And as much as there is no love lost between us and Mitch McConnell, and I say that collectively for us as a group...
I'm surprised they let that mummy out in public anymore.
Yeah, Mitch, more specifically, bitches handlers, whoever you are, because we know that you're going to hear this eventually. Do the man a favor. Give him an opportunity to just go away. I'm not even going to say with dignity, because that ship has sailed. He deserves to just go away and spend a little bit of time, with, 5-year-olds. Because I get the funny feeling that he might need to learn how to pull up his own depends soon. Because I don't think that there's going to be much left of him very shortly. Am I being mean-spirited? I don't care.
He should go back to his turtle clan.
He could. Yeah. He could. It's still illegal to kill turtles and make soup out of them, right?
According to Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael.
I don't know that they're exactly an unbiased source of law, so I don't know. Let's see what was going on over here. Over in the chat, by the way, guys were talking about who's gonna get thrown out in which election series and whatnot, and very much looking forward to certain elections having very large consequences. And Seeker, you got to get on. No worries. Take care of yourself. Have a safe day tomorrow. And we'll be looking forward to that. And Felix is saying it depends on the turtle. Which ones were legal? That's fair. That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, but I think it is also fair to say that if the word that I've heard that Mitch McConnell was having basically a stroke is what some people had said that it looked like for him, that yeah, he's one of these days is going to happen again, and he's just going to be non-functional afterwards. I know that's not exactly your area of expertise, Brigid, but I've got to imagine you've heard something about what kind of situation he's going to be in very shortly.
Or he could be having absence seizures. I don't know what's going on with him, but something's going on.
Yeah, the idea that somebody suddenly pressed pause on his brain for a couple 10 seconds at a clip in public multiple times. That's not a good sign. That's not a good look. But yeah, very much looking forward to finding out later what happened to him, because if there's one thing we've learned in the information age, sooner or later all is known. That's a little thing between Tech and I. We understand that, but
yep, we also know where you hide your.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. The folder may still be there, but trust us, people. We know full well you're not sending and receiving faxes anymore. Don't try to hide anything in there. There used to be an incoming outgoing fax directory in. What was it? It was NT and 98 that had it, I believe. Whatever. Get the idea. Joseph, we get to come back over to you. What's the next one that you want to go ahead and yell at somebody for?
Oh, well, the Supreme Court again.
Oh, wow. And here I thought you were going to talk about something a little bit closer to home, like if I don't know if there were any other protests going on or whatnot. Back over to us. Okay.
No, I've been watching with fascination your Supreme Court. They just allowed the football prayer guy.
Yeah.
They allowed him. They voted in his favor, or they ruled in his favor. And the guy himself, he just threw in the sponge. He went back for a new school season, first game of the season. At the end of the game, he goes out on the field all alone, goes down on one knee, little prayer. Nobody joined him, and the next day he quit.
Amazing how that happens.
Yeah, but well, now there's precedent. That's the problem.
Yeah. What ends up funny about that is, though, as we found out from this Supreme Court, precedent doesn't necessarily mean anything anymore. So it would be completely understandable for the Supreme Court later to go ahead and turn that back over and go, yeah, they got it wrong before, so we'll just, it's not settled law or nothing. We can just go ahead and change that again. Sorry, am I being snarky all of a sudden?
Well, like any non-rational, well, imitator, whatever, conveniently thinking person, they'll use precedent when it's useful, and they'll do what they want when it's not.
Yep.
And as far as I was concerned, precedent for me, it's just like, for me, it's a logical fallacy. Actually, it's an argument to antiquity. Oh, we've always done like that. I never really understood that. There should be a rational reason for everything. But in the decision, it's not rational to just say, well, this guy did it like this, so am I. And it's not rational to just favor a minority to the detriment of the majority for not even rational laws or reasons or whatever.
Yeah, the way that I've understood it, and I'm not versed in law, so just take it with a grain of salt. Don't take law advice from a podcast. I've understood precedent to be basically the extra voice of the court. It's the past court saying, under these circumstances, we find blah, whatever the vote is, and the rationale for it is, and that's when they get to explain the interpretation of the circumstances as regards to the law, whether with or against the grain of the law. So it shouldn't be adhered to as a rubber stamp to say, well, it's close enough to the situation from before, so we'll just go with whatever we thought before and just, done. But it's when there are several cases that follow very close to the same situations with very little variation, and the rationale for voting in one particular way on the situation continues to make legal sense. And I say it that way because law is not even just our Constitution. All law is an evolving concept. That if the rationale still holds water up through time, then yes, that's the way that it should be seen and very likely voted on if it seems to be close enough to the same variables. But you're right, it shouldn't be just a rubber stamp and it's close enough, bang, one way or the other. But that son of a bitch, that guy, man, and the person that we're talking about, oh cripes, I forgot what the hell his name is. I had the opportunity of being on the Ask an Atheist podcast from over there in Washington with Sam Mulvey and Rebecca Friedman. And they invited me out there when all the lockdowns started to happen with the COVID thing. So I got to be on with them. The episode in question is called Era Dust, ERA, Era Dust. And we talked about the case, about 3 years ago, when it was going through court at that point. And then I think about a year or so ago, we had Rebecca on with us for Iridust Part 2. And yeah, that was, we kind of rehashed a little bit about that and where it was going and why it was at the Supreme Court and, what should it be, we thought. And now the Supreme Court's gone ahead and screwed us over. And he showed what kind of a petulant little pissant he is. So yeah, I'm absolutely with you on that one. But since we had that one, I think it's fair to lob a second one at the Supreme Court in general for saying, no, we don't need an ethics panel to watch over us. We're doing just fine, thanks very much. The whole lot of you can just go ahead and burn in a fire. The idea that these guys can be accepting gifts in excess of, oh God, thousands upon thousands of dollars in value, and they don't even have to go ahead and list a single thing about it. I mean, oopsie. I mean, really quickly, Tech, you had said about a while ago that if you received a gift in exchange of in excess of like however much,
$25.
25, it has
Very
to be
limited.
listed.
It has to, yeah, actually, if it's over $25, you're technically not supposed to accept it. If you want to accept it, then you have to file and see if it gets approved, because it could be misconstrued as a bribe.
But that Supreme Court, man, thousands upon thousands of dollars to fly somebody out on a super yacht, which probably has its own yacht inside of it. Maybe not necessarily a yacht, but yes, you can get a super yacht with a runabout boat inside of it. No, I'm not shitting you. That really is a thing. Just to go on vacation because, why not? We're friends. Haven't been friends before I was on the Supreme Court, but you know what? It's all good. It's all fine. Doesn't matter. So those of you there on the court that keep saying, no, we don't need an ethics panel, we don't need to take a thing about it, you're wrong. You're just objectively wrong. So, way to go, court. Way to go. Brigid, your turn.
Well, how about Elon Musk?
Oh, he was one of the big ones on the top of my list.
Well, you can have him if you want him.
Oh no! You brought him out into the chat. You go ahead and you do it because this is gonna be fun. I'm just gonna sit back and enjoy this one.
I think he's a little too cozy to pooty poot.
Told you I was just gonna sit back and enjoy this one. I'm enjoying it.
I'm not sure what the story is with the whole Starlink thing, if he turned off or if it was just never on to begin with, or what, I'm not sure what the story is on that because I've been hearing both versions, but what a total tool. There are people dead because of what he did.
Yeah, give him a quick synopsis.
Well, Ukraine was doing an ops, or they were getting ready to do an ops, with Sea Fleet. And because they didn't have any access to Starlink, they couldn't carry this out. And so anyway, the Russian submarines have been firing missiles, at civilians and kids and stuff like that. And so a whole bunch of people died needlessly that didn't need to die because Musk is a tool. And he's also been talking to Putin. So, that probably had a little something to do with it. they're in cahoots. And then his whole stance on, well, we need to negotiate for peace and they need to give up some land to make Russia happy. That's just bullshit. It didn't work with Crimea. It's not going to work now. And he just needs to get the fuck out of the foreign policy stuff because he does not know what he's talking about.
Yeah.
And I personally think that the United States government needs to cut any and all contracts with him.
I think that's a really good idea. And part of the reason why I say that is because apparently the only way currently that US astronauts are able to get to low Earth orbit to International Space Station is via SpaceX. Because apparently NASA is not really launching its own rockets currently. It's just contracted out to SpaceX. Problem with that is it's not just human space flight, it's also satellite deliveries. So no. So yeah, I'm absolutely totally on board with you. You know, it's entirely possible one of these days maybe he'll get rear-ended in a Tesla, and maybe there'll be a small problem with the battery casing. Saying possible.
Well, they do like to catch on fire.
They don't like to. They just very energetic when they do.
Well, there have been enough Teslas catch on fire,
For days.
Okay, well, first off, one of the things that people need to understand is that electric car fires, the severity of them are not specific to Tesla.
Oh, I know. But remember,
the way it came across real quick. And the thing is that in terms of safety features, Tesla does kind of okay. Let me say this real quick. I am in no way, shape, or form a fan of Elon Musk at all. He's a rich little boy who doesn't get what he wants, so therefore he cries and he throws a temper tantrum. Okay.
agreed.
He just happens to have enough money to make other people's lives miserable. It's kind of like the kid that nobody liked who ended up getting to be the hall monitor. Had a modicum of power and made other kids' lives miserable in the process, which is why people continued to hate that kid. So, that being said, the engineers at Tesla are pretty damn good, or at least they used to be. Now, Musk had a tendency to try to push things through, overwork people to the point that they broke, and so on and so forth. Cult of personality happens at many jobs, many companies. Tesla does have better safety features than many of the EVs on the road, which is why many of the Teslas that have had battery fires have had the kind where people walked away from. And versus other battery fires and other EVs where they didn't walk away from.
Yes.
The thing about electric car fires is that they burn at thousands of degrees hotter than a regular car fire because of the materials that the batteries are made out of. And yes, you can submerge those things in water, an electric battery fire, for like upwards of a month and possibly still have it restart. Ask firefighters that have fought these things. So there is now a special device made for firefighters for putting out car battery fires, and it's the evolution of the firefighter that we will see. it's part of progress. When you advance one technology, other technologies typically follow. Well, the ability to fight these kinds of fires is evolving, and it's groundbreaking, just like the cars themselves are. So when I hear people badmouth electric vehicles because, oh, you'll die in a car fire and they won't be able to put it out, it was like, not exactly.
Um, I think that you've kind of missed over the point of the irony of the man having an accident in a car for a company of which he's been using because he bought his way
Okay.
into.
Yes, it went over my head because I am exhausted. Sorry.
Now
What clicked in my brain is that I
No,
hear
no,
it sounded similar to a lot of the rhetoric that I hear people
no, I got you.
trying to use to not want EVs on the road.
No, I got you. I got you. And that's a fair point. I would like to see them working correctly and not operating like a Samsung Note 7, but we'll deal with that part later.
And I mean, on the positive, in the EV world, the car manufacturers are trying to get together and solve the whole charger unification, standardization process to decide on one uniform connector. Much like we all have for all our gas vehicles, we all have a minimum size hole in the entrance to the gas tank where we fill up our car. Because all the pumps have standardized nozzle sizes. Right. So it's the car companies are trying to get that done for the charging stations.
That's going to go about as well as it is trying to make sure that you keep diesel out of gas tanks and gas out of diesel tanks. But that's another thing for later.
Or people who don't understand that there's a difference between on-road diesel and off-road diesel.
Too many pieces.
It's a different. It has different stuff in it for different additives.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Then, do you want to use that as your one, or you got
Sure,
something?
why not? Because I don't think I got anything else in me right now.
That's fair.
I ran out of coffee. Otherwise, I'd have more coffee in me.
I can't do that. I don't want to be up until 4 a.m. and then sleeping until 4 p.m. again. Local times. Local times.
At this point, I could drink about 18 ounces of extra strong coffee, and it would probably only keep me awake for half an hour. I have an incredibly high tolerance for caffeine. It's a curse, not a blessing.
That's fair. Joseph, then I'll kick it back over your way. What's left? Or do you have anything left? Because I'm not seeing anything coming off of you. Okay. I'll see if you end up coming back. Back over to the text for a second over here. Apparently backtracking just a little bit. Stephanie was saying, going back to the whole thing with Starlink, Musk turned it off as the mission was half over when they lost contact with the drones. Meanwhile, the ships they were going to attack are murdering civilians. Russia needs to give up land to Ukraine to provide a buffer zone. I don't know about giving up land. I think they should just leave it where it was and go away. I mean, it's semantics, but I mean, be that as it may. Congress stopped NASA building their own rockets. I think SpaceX should be nationalized. I've got no problem with that either. They seem to have a pretty good idea as to what they're doing. And, well, truth be told, they're doing the work of NASA, so how about putting the two together? That would make a lot of sense to me. And the only difference in the diesels in the UK is the dye used in off-road. In this case, dye, D-Y-E, meaning color. I don't have any knowledge about any of that. I only thought there was just diesel. So I'm just going to go ahead and say I don't know any difference between them other than diesel plus gasoline equals literally a federal case. Bad news over here. The idea of Russia giving up land is as a punishment. You know what? I could be on board with that. I think a lot of people would be just real happy with Russia just going away. I don't know how far I necessarily want to mean that, but making Russia just go away, I mean, we can start from the top and then work our way down, I guess. I don't know if I'm talking about geography or politics at this point. I'll figure that out later. Joseph, do we have any more luck getting you back on again? I'm hearing nothing from you. Okay, we'll see how this is going. Brigid, I guess we'll have just one more go round and be done. You got anything left over in the tank, or are we pretty well scraping the very bottom of the? Not that there's a bottom of the barrel of the GOP for whatever. I'm sorry. I'm outdoor voice. Sorry about that. Outdoor voice there.
I'm trying to think.
Yeah, when we're totally conscious and awake during the day, it's easy to come up with some of these, but gets a little later in the day and it's like, I don't want to be bothered. I don't want to have a bad taste in my mouth the rest of the night. I get that.
So what is the deal in Wisconsin with them trying to impeach the Democratic judge who hasn't even heard any cases yet?
I think it's because there are
She's
cases.
a Democrat.
Yeah, there are cases, and they don't want one of them properly elected folks who respect law and the process want to have anything to do with it.
But impeach her for what? She hasn't done anything yet.
Don't think that's going to much matter to them trying the process.
I would think you would have to do something first in order to be impeached, one would think.
Well, they were still threatening to impeach President Biden shortly after he was inaugurated. Like within
That's
days.
true.
Like threatening it before he was sworn in. Imagine that. And Stephanie's got it right over here. GOP, out of the barrel and burrowing deep. Yeah. Yeah, until you hit bedrock, there's no bottom. Oh, right, and even then, there's still no bottom to be had. Don't know why. Not my call. Don't know why. But yeah, I'm very much with you on this one too, because if the whole idea is to use whatever dirty tactic is possible in order to get your way, to maybe call it exploiting the rules, but definitely using them in bad faith, man, at that point, what in the hell is the point of having any rules in the first place? If you got to follow them, follow them. If you're not, well, I guess we're seeing what that is, or have been for the last, 10 years now? 20. Probably more like. No, sorry, I take that back. 23. We'll call it 23 years, minimally. Because there is no reason why we should not have had a Democrat in the White House in 2000. Looking at you again, Florida. Nice job. But that's a whole other thing. We should have actually been slapping around Al Gore for just going ahead and trying to put country above politics. Because he did the right thing. And look where it got us. Be that as it may. Tech, you said that you were pretty well done and tapped out at this point, right?
Yes.
That's fair. Joseph, I'm going to try one more time over to you, see if the mic's running, and if you've got anything
Yeah.
left over. Oh, there you are.
Yeah, well, I just had to leave for a second. The usual emergency.
Sorry, I didn't.
Coffee refill.
Fair
No,
enough.
nothing more to add.
Okay. Then I guess I'll leave one last one for the table and have it as like my closing on this whole damn thing. What I just said about using the rule of law in a way it was never intended to play dirty pool, if you will. If you're not going to follow the rules, there's no society. That's what society is. It's an agreed upon set of rules of how things are supposed to work. And if you're not going to go ahead and use those, you are no longer a functional part of society. What's the punishment for that? I'm not sure that there really is one, other than ostracization. But we saw how that went when part of the country decided they wanted to take itself away from the rest of the country. Well, we already went through that once before. We don't need to do that again. But you know what? You want to go ahead and you want to try and do that again, folks? You know what? Something tells me you're more than welcome to go ahead and try. Oops, you already did. And look at what's happened. Prison terms of upwards of 20 and 30 years coming down for these people that tried exactly that. They're going to miss out on their 40s. They're going to miss out on their kids growing up. And the best part about it is, these people that are being found guilty in the courts of law are the ones that are another pin in the coffin for putting 45 well behind bars. All of you guys from each of the states who have been saying, for that reason, Donald J. Trump is no longer eligible to be on the ballot for federal office because of supporting an insurrection. Thank you for having the balls to actually read the goddamn rules. Just thank you. There are some states where they are saying he is no longer eligible because he has been specifically named as having been the cause for, the inspiration for, and the driving force for the insurrection that happened January 6th.
Which means that he can still run for president, but just he won't be on the ballot in certain states. Is that it?
Currently, yes. Because each of the individual states can go ahead and take him off of the rosters. But then the problem becomes, at the federal level, once that goes to the federal level can say, according to the rules, you're not allowed to have a federal level job either, whether you've been elected or not. And I can't wait for that.
It's going to the Supreme Court?
It very well could.
Probably.
There's not much time.
Probably not.
Inshallah.
Which is why it's going to be really interesting to see this come out. I can't wait for the next couple of months. But we'll have to wait on that. Meantime, let's go ahead and call it a night, because Lord knows it's been a night and I still got one or two things left to tell you guys about. So as always, everybody, thank you very much for being with us. We hope that you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives and have something to think about for the week ahead. As always, over there in the chat, thank you guys for being able to be here. Stephanie, I hope things stay cooler for you at the very least. Seeker, I know you had to take off, so you take care of yourself. And Felis, also, just thank you. You take care of yourself. Do not be sending me any recipe files on how to cook turtle. I don't need it. Thank you. Felis has a really, really fun habit of sending me recipes every once in a while for things that I don't have the temerity to make. But, you know, it's always interesting to read it over and just go, that would probably be really cool. I'm never going to make it, but that'd be really cool, I bet. So, guys, thanks for being with me, as always. Joseph, thank you. Glad you're able to make it. Welcome back. And don't know if you're going to be able to make it for next week, but regardless, do have yourself a fun time out there at the Stones.
Yep, going up Thursday and coming back Monday. I'll see if I can connect. The 4G is great there, especially from up on the tower. So I'll see if I can connect.
Fair enough. Do have yourself a safe time, though, man. Take care of yourself.
Yeah, you too, man. Take care.
Tech, glad you were able to make it. You take care of yourself and enjoy getting some sleep. It sounds like you could probably use this week.
Yeah, just a few hours worth.
Fair enough. You take care of yourself, though, man.
Yeah, you too, man.
Brigid, come to the last spot where you get to go ahead and give one last FU, and I don't know that you got anything left in the tank, but I'm pretty sure you can come with one.
Wow. That's a tough one.
You want me to give you a hint?
Sure.
Truth Social.
Who, Donald Trump?
That's
He
partly
gets the biggest. He gets the biggest one of all.
Actually, I was thinking something more along the lines of every damn lawyer that has decided to take him up.
You're stupid. He never pays.
Nope.
And there's a good chance that they're going to go into the slammer as well, or get disbarred or something. I would not take him as a client ever.
Neither would I. But I figured that would probably be a good one for you right there. So I'm glad you were able to make it. You have a I hope you have an entertaining week. I can't wait to hear how it turns out. There's stuff that we were talking about before the show. You're not gonna you folks are not gonna be privy to it. Just know that it was it's been entertaining finding out about some things. So just trust me. I hope that things work out well.
Thank you.
Take care of yourself. And for all of you, of course, thanks for being with us. It's been a hoot as always. If you'd like to take a swing over to the website and be there for all of our contact links, almost all the contact links at this point, holycrapthevlogcast.com. Of course, our contact phone number, if you'd like to use it, is 859-HCTV-554, 859-428-8554. And the link for the audio version of the podcast is available for you right over there as well. Thank you, Dalan, for doing all the work. I don't thank you often enough. I'm terribly sorry about that. Two last items. Item one, for those of you that follow me on other social media, you'll be finding out that as of this week, as of recording, September 11th, and I know it's just the way that it worked out, I will be starting my 15th season as an online DJ in Second Life. So if you'd like to be finding out a little bit more about that, I have shows through the week, except for Tuesday nights, and just find me on pretty much any of the platforms. You'll be able to find all the stuff about that posted as of yesterday, as a matter of fact, as of Saturday the 9th. There it is, 9th of September. But I'll keep posting it on all the socials, so if you go looking, you'll find it eventually. And item last. The problem is I don't know how many years it's been at this point. The 7th of September is always a special day for me because that is the day that I originally met my wife. I didn't know at the time that this poor late-to-class clarinetist was going to be somebody that I would end up wanting to spend my life with. And I can say that I spent her life with her. I'm still proud of that. I am still terribly broken up inside. And I do sincerely hope that those of you that are out there that may still be wondering, is it possible to be loved? Yes. Yes, it is. I don't know what's going to be for me yet, but my story isn't finished. And I hope that yours goes well. So with that, we call it a night. I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And Joan, too damned many years later. I am still in love. Matane Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Till the next time we're together, everyone, as always, good night.